Here we go. Back again. It's me, Bruce Hope, with another episode of the Format Podcast. Got some good stuff pretty much to end it. To get into that, I got a pretty cool guest today, a friend of mine, Ryan Lankford, former 4-year wide receiver for the University of Illinois Fighting Illini. So we're going to talk to him. We're going to hear about his story, his experience in high school, college football, as well as playing briefly in the NFL and then for 5 years in the CFL. So look forward to that. So before we do that, let's get to it, knock out the particulars real quick. If you're on YouTube, thanks so much for tuning in. Obviously, you know, this is the Format Podcast. If you got the link from someone else, they shared it with you. All you got to do, if you're looking for the show in the future, is type in the Format Podcast. We should come right up. If you like the show, please give us that thumbs up, and also go ahead and click the subscribe button in the lower right corner of your screen. Also, do me a favor and click that bell so you can be notified when new episodes of the show come up. All right. If you're on social media, you can catch up with me anytime on Twitter at Bruce F.A. Hope. That's at Bruce F.A. Hope. If you're on Instagram, it's at The Format Podcast, at The Format Podcast. And if you want to email me directly, it's theformatpodcast@outlook.com, theformatpodcast@outlook.com. Love it. Love the interaction. You can give me a shout. Tell me you love the show. Tell me you hate the show. Give suggestions, topics that you want to hear me talk about. Tell me where I was right. Tell me where I was wrong. Definitely appreciate it. If you want the audio only version of the show, you can check me out anywhere that you get your audio podcast. We have access on Google Podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And we're also available on iHeartRadio. All right. So also, wherever you get your audio podcasts, if your platform allows it, please give us that 5-star review. That 5-star review will raise us up in the algorithm, make us easier to find. And it's just good overall. Lets me know you love it. All right. So with all that said and done, sit back, relax, and listen up to episode 110 of The Format. Special episode. Now we're gonna do a little, I guess it's commemorative pretty much of the final college football week of the season. So we're gonna talk all college football today, and joining me here is a friend of mine, a colleague, and a former Division I college football wide receiver at University of Illinois, Jacksonville's own Ryan Lankford. Ryan, what's up, man? Thank you for joining the Format Podcast, bro.
Bruce. Hey, man, I'm glad to be here. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you.
Outstanding, man. So it's crazy. Ryan sits like 2 desks over from me at work. I didn't even know he was a college football player. This guy's so humble, but he got some real skills, and you'll see that as the show progresses. We definitely got some highlights that are going to come up. So this is cool stuff. So let's get to it, Ryan. You're from a football family, man.
Football family. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, let's see. So my dad played football with the Dolphins for 10 years. He went to Penn State. So when I was in the recruitment process, you know, he was excited that I was thinking Big Ten, and
of course,
but also, you know, didn't want me to go to Penn State. He kind of wanted me to do where I wanted to go.
Okay.
Penn State didn't offer me anyway, so I couldn't have gone anyway. Mm-hmm. But it was always nice to have that support system, especially for my dad. Just the athletic background, and so you played 10 years with the Dolphins, and
I didn't know that.
Played 10 years with the Dolphins, and loved it, and that's what kind of got me in the drive to, like, you know, I kind of want to do football too. You know,
so is that the only professional team he played for?
So he played with the Dolphins, only team. League was a little bit different back then, right? So 1981, there wasn't a lot of guys getting, traded, and money was different. You weren't really bouncing around. So wherever you got drafted, you prayed that they were going to like you enough to keep you around. And he did what he needed to do. So Dolphins for 10 years.
So it just occurred to me, your pops played for 10 years with the Dolphins from 1981, I guess, to 91. He played with Dan Marino. What has he told you about playing with Dan Marino and the Marks brothers? That must have been crazy.
Yeah, so I know Duper pretty well.
Okay, super duper.
Yeah, super duper. So I know him. Him pretty well. He lived in Jacksonville for some time. I don't know if he's still
know that. Okay.
Here. But yeah, it was cool. I mean, we still get like their Christmas cards. My mom does a really good job of keeping people, in the loop and stuff like that. So we get their Christmas cards, and there's a lot of different Dolphin players that I kind of grew up with their kids as well when we were down in Miami for a little bit of time.
Okay.
And they'll have like alumni weekend things before I went away to college, and then all those kind of things. We would go down, have training camp, and have some lunch with the players and all kinds of stuff. So it's been cool to kind of get raised in that. But Dan was an awesome guy. One thing that my mom and my dad would say, like, Dan was look out for you kind of guy. My mom said, "Hey man, can you sign something for such and such?" And she'll mail it to him, and he'll yeah, Mom, absolutely, sign it, send it back. So
nice.
Nothing but good things to say about Mr. Marino.
Awesome. So your dad was a DB, if I remember that correctly, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
so that means he was dealing with Dan Marino on a one-on-one and the Marks brothers in practice every day, huh?
Definitely.
What has he told you about that experience and what it was like to go up against, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and guys who, while they might not necessarily be Hall of Famers or household names at the wide receiver position today, guys who were lighting the league up at that time? What has he told you about that?
Well, he just told me it was just nice to compete. My dad is, kind of soft-spoken guy, but he loves to compete. I mean, now he's retired and he's still competing. I mean, the man rides 100 miles a week on his road bike, and he breaks it down. I'll call him. He's like, "Yeah, I did 35 today, or I did such and such today." But he just likes to compete, and it was always good going against good on good, as we say it in the football words. One-on-ones. When you're going against the top guys, against the top defense, is really when you get to iron sharpens iron a little bit. But no, again, nothing but good things about those times and the work that it took to be there and stay there.
So I guess that would make you, from the time you were growing up, a Dolphins fan then.
Yeah, always a Dolphins fan. We were in Miami originally, so we moved here 90, whatever the Jaguars' first year was. My dad had a job.
94, I think.
94, yeah, 94, 95, around that time. He had a job working front office with the Jaguars at that time. Okay. But yeah, Dolphins have always been Dolphin fan and wanted to play for the Dolphins, and I achieved a dream. I wasn't there too long, but hey, I made it. So
so we'll talk about that. Quick side note: one of my very good friends from my Army days, big Dolphins fan. So if you're listening right now, shout out Sergeant Geist. We love you, man. So Sergeant Geist, big Dolphins fan. Got to show love right there. Absolutely. Definitely. Yeah, so all right, let's kind of move it and talk about you. Obviously, football and track guy in high school. Where'd you go to high school?
So I went to high school at Paxson School for Advanced Studies, and I was actually a soccer player first. So I really didn't play football.
So you played what the rest of the world calls football first.
Absolutely. So I started playing soccer when I was, probably 6, 7, and I played it all the way up to high school. I didn't play Pop Warner until probably I was like 12 or so, and I really didn't play football for my school until high school.
Okay.
So I was always known as, like, in middle school, I was playing soccer for the school. I was doing that stuff. High school, they was like, "Oh, Lank," they called me like Lank's coming out. He's playing football. And they was like, "He don't play football." But the whole time I was doing Pop Warner. Right. But yeah, I went to Paxson School for Advanced Studies, a great academic institution. Not really known for football or sports at all.
Okay.
But I embraced kind of that challenge. And once I, realized that I could shine in a place like that, I really wanted to stay, So
when you say that you used to play soccer, it makes me think of another great wide receiver who used to play soccer, and I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. Chad Ochocinco, and I think OBJ as well. Tell me, how does that really affect your footwork? Because when you look at the best soccer players, footballers, as they're called in other parts of the world outside North America, you know, those guys' footwork is absolutely tremendous. And we know that you as a wide receiver, you have to have outstanding footwork. How did that help you?
Yeah, no, definitely. So the biggest reason that football really, or soccer really, I guess it is football, soccer really helped
Right,
me.
right.
So at a young age, just pushing through. We had a coach. I was doing club ball, so we was doing like select soccer. You had to try out, and we were kind of the same group for a lot of years. Some dudes went and played MLS, and you know, some we had some pretty decent players on the team. But what really got me was the conditioning and just being pushed at a young age to just like, okay, you're tired, but we got one more rep. So once I realized that, you know, once I was conditioned how I could really just break down an opponent by my endurance, that was huge. And then also, like you said, playing soccer, you got to be able to use both feet. You got to be able to change your running, hand-eye, foot coordination, leverage. There's all type of things that helped in being a receiver, where steps are so important, that you know, timing and the way you plant and how you plant, those kind of things, it went hand in hand. It really helped me. And then, you know, the few soccer skills as well carried over football. I did some kicking, some punting from time to time, little trick packages and things like that. So that definitely carried over. But I love soccer, and I tell everyone who has children or thinking of children, get your kids in soccer, young age. It's easy. And they put the ball down at a young age. You guys kick it that way. You guys kick it that way. And just go. And it's awesome. And we still got friends that we played childhood soccer together that we still keep in contact with. Like as parents, my parents say like it was one of the most fun times of their lives.
So tell me, how would you compare the conditioning level of a soccer athlete versus a football athlete, an American football player?
Yeah, so it's different. Because soccer, let's say you're going to play, you know, 90 minutes, but you're rolling the whole time, right? Football, you got about 6 to 10, 12 seconds of 100%. Then you can shut it down and relax. Oh, TV timeout. You kind of get your breath back. Soccer, you're running, and it can change so quickly. So you have to, you know, prepare for that. Football is a little bit different when it comes to that type of conditioning. So that would really be the difference.
Right. So before we get back to football, I'm going to ask you, since you said you're a soccer guy, who's currently the best soccer player in the world? Is it Lewandowski? Is it Ronaldo? Is it
I've been a huge Ronaldo fan.
Messi?
I also love Messi though.
I love Messi too.
I love Messi's just grit, if you will. It's like his hard work, his ethic. You know, I've always appreciated and loved that about him.
Okay. Awesome. All right, so let's bring it back to the States. So tell me about, so you became a football star at Paxton, a school not known, like you said, for athletics, college preparatory institution. So tell me what it was like, you becoming, you know, a standout athlete, track and football at Paxton, and then how did that, you know, kind of roll into recruiting of you as a Division I athlete? And where did you want to go play football?
Yeah, that's a great question. So my entire life, I was going to be a Miami Hurricane. I was going to the U.
Okay.
I was going. Like I had orange and blue, everything.
Okay.
My goddad actually is Michael Irvin, which is crazy how that happened. Family, mom grew together. So yeah, like that was my.
We're gonna talk, bro.
That was kind of like my thing. Like, okay, the playmaker. Like, yeah, like I like that. I'm gonna be University of Miami. But at Paxton, you know, it was fun to. I just like the game. I like to compete. But it was hard to get out of Paxton because there had been no track record of college athletes. So I used to always tell people I felt like I was a young up and coming rapper trying to make it out. You know, I had highlight tapes. I made all my highlight tapes, all the high school highlight tapes you see online. I physically made in my parents' office, all the footage, Wanda Langford. because she sat there and she recorded all the games. I broke it up, I put the music, boom. My dad one day was like, hey, we got to start, trying to get your name out there. So we had like little combines, little camps you can go, because there really was no social media the way it was today. There was YouTube and things like that, but it wasn't hitting the way it was hitting now. So you still had to go out and do things. And my dad was like, hey, we're going to get some CDs. We're going to burn. I'm like, Dad, that's going to cost like a couple $100 to do all that. He said, yeah, but realize the return. That's what we're working on. Like, if you get a scholarship, that's what it's about. You're going to get a scholarship, but that's what it's about. I was like, okay, cool. So it was difficult making it out of Paxton, but I had the numbers to do it. I was good receiver. I was running good 40 times. Academic, so they knew on an educational standpoint I was going to be good academically. It was just, if we wanted to take a chance on this super skinny kid who really hadn't had the type of strength conditioning training that other people are having, and there's all these other powerhouse schools in Jacksonville, why him? And Illinois took a chance, and God just aligned it for me, and it was awesome. It was the best thing that happened to me going to Illinois, man. It was awesome.
That's cool. So tell me a little bit about your recruitment process. Did any other Division I programs recruit you? What was that like when Illinois came and said, hey, we want you to come be a Fighting Illini? Tell me about that process for you.
Yeah, so it was a good process. So the first school that came was Georgia Tech.
Okay.
Georgia Tech actually came towards the end of my sophomore year, and it was probably the best visit that I ever had. Recruiter came, called me out of class. So I get up. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm out of class. I walk in there. In the room, I just see this man standing there, and he has Georgia Tech gold emblem shirt on. And I'm like, wow, like that's a recruiter from a college coming to see me. Like, and it's probably right before when they're kind of breaking the rules, because you're kind of supposed to talk to your junior year, but I was doing well. I played varsity when I was a freshman. So he came in, he said, hey, we like your stuff. We're going to keep an eye on you. Problem is, at the time, my GPA wasn't as strong as it could be. And he was like, with the GPA that you're sitting at right now, like we can't offer you a scholarship because we don't know if you'd be able to like maintain. And I was like, what? Like, they really care about that? Like that? They just say that,
I was about to say, I mean, no disrespect. Stephon Marbury went to Georgia Tech. I'm like,
yeah. And he was like, yeah, but he's like, the important thing is, you got to maintain. I don't even remember who this coach was, but he was like, yeah, you got to be able to maintain. So you got to make a decision. He says, so, when we leave here, we're going to keep recruiting you, but you got to make a decision. Do you want to be, the academic guy, or do you want to just be, the class, the cool kid? Because you're not gonna be able to do both. The athlete, you're gonna have to make a decision. And I was like, dang, like that was what I kind of needed to hear. I was like, well, I want to play football. So then I, kind of kicked it up a notch and really focused on my studies. And then junior year, I started lighting it up a little bit, and more schools started coming, mail started coming, and then Dan Dish recruited me. He there's a big line of his dad coached at Ed White and things like that. And the head coach that I had, Willie Alford, who played Minnesota for a little bit. Shout out to Coach O. He knew Coach Dish, and he was kind of talking to him like, hey, Dish, come check this guy out. And so Dish came and was like, hey, we're watching you. We're interested in you. And next thing you know, they were like, yeah, Zook's going to come down for an in-home visit. And I was like, okay, cool. At the time, Zook was just at Illinois now, had left Florida. Everyone was huge Gator fans in Jacksonville. And I'll never forget Zook. He's like, yeah, I'll come to your school, we'll talk for a little bit, and then I'll, come to your house and all that kind of stuff. And he came to the school, and it was like a national holiday at the school. Like, everybody was like, yo, that's Zook, man, that's him. And I'm like, wow, like he really came to see me, and that was awesome too, because my school hadn't seen that kind of stuff. They're an academic school. You see colleges come through, but it's the college, for recruiting students, not sports so much, so it was an exciting time for me.
Nice. So I'm gonna ask you the indecent question here, but a lot of time has gone by, so I think you can answer honestly. Anybody ever offer you money to play ball?
No, and I wish. I seem like everyone had that, and I think it's kind of the story of my life in a sense. Everyone's, from my perspective, has had the opportunities and had the secret stuff, and I never was able to. I didn't get paid. I didn't get the extra stuff. I didn't have that opportunity. However, the opportunities that I did have, I love and I cherish, and they made me who I am. You know what I mean? Okay. But no, I never had any, illegal bribing. It was to the point we got there, they gave us these big jackets. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm taking this to the house. I'm keeping this. This is what all about recruiting and all this is. And they take us back to go to the airport. They're like, yeah, we're gonna need the jackets back. Y'all can keep you can keep the hats, but everything else we got to give everything back. And I was like, wow, like, okay, that's not what I really thought. But it was awesome. Zook offered me a scholarship the last day. And I was excited. I was excited. It was awesome.
Did you ever have any doubt about going to Illinois? Were there any other choices up there for other programs that you might have gone to?
So my first offer was Central Michigan. Okay. And I actually went to the University of Illinois without an offer on an unofficial visit. Okay. Which became official when they offered me a scholarship at the end. So, I like to think I'm a pretty ethically good person. I'm like, well, Central Michigan offered me, so we got to take a visit to Central Michigan. We got to at least see what they got, whatever. So after we get back from the Illinois visit, I'm calling Central Michigan, trying to, get in touch with the, my recruiter, and ESPN. I literally never forget. I came across the ticker, Central Michigan head coach fired. I was like, oh shoot, dang, I wonder what that means for me. Like, I wonder, if I'm still gonna go. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe that's a sign that maybe Central Michigan isn't it. And then it seemed like every person around me was somehow connected. My mom's friend's uncle went to Illinois. The neighbor's step went to Illinois. This guy, he was an Illinois graduate. This person actually knew Ron Zook. And I'm like, wow, there's a lot of things that are like pointing to Illinois. And then also on my visit, it felt right. It felt like I had been there already. The connections that I made just in that little bit amount of time made me feel comfortable that this could be a place that I could, one, get my education and play some football at a high level, right? Play on Saturdays. I was going to make NCAA. I was going to make the game. Like, all my dreams was gonna, kind of come true. So
you're gonna make me go back and get the game and play it just so I can,
that was a big.
That's cool.
The video game was cool. That was a big day, and I remember it was our freshman year. We're like, yo, based on the timing, we should make this year's game. Like, we got to go get it. So it dropped at midnight. we walked down there. It was freezing cold. We bought the games. We came back. We played it. We were joking like, oh, you're only such and such overall. You're such and such. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Cool. As you mentioned, freezing cold. And we'll kind of get to a little more in terms of adjustment to, college and the Big Ten and all that. Yeah. A lot of times you see the Southern guys, they want to stay in the SEC. A lot of times they don't want to go up north and deal with the weather and all that. What was that like for you experiencing your first Midwest Northern winter?
Man. So it's a love-hate thing, right? So I personally hate playing in the cold. I hate playing in the cold, but then there's certain cold that I don't mind playing in, right? I don't mind playing in when it's not too windy. If it's just naturally cold out there, I'm cool with it. But it's different playing in the cold and living in the cold, two different things. I tell people all the time. I say, when it's, 1 o'clock and it's below 10 degrees outside and you don't have a game or you're just nothing, you chilling inside. But if the game's at 1 o'clock and it's 10 below outside, the game is still at 10 o'clock and you are going to be outside in that 10 below degree weather fighting for your life. So, you got to get used to it. But you never really get used to the cold, in my opinion. You just know how to tolerate it and play in it, So in a perfect world, I used to tell people when I started playing in Canada, I was like, man, I give half my season's money just to make sure that we play hot games, 100 degrees, just burning up all season long. I'd pay money for that because that's what I'm used to. You're right, being a Florida kid. Right. That's what I'm used to.
Yeah, no, I hear you. This is living in Florida now. This is the first place I've ever lived where it doesn't really get cold and it doesn't snow. And it's just kind of, I've been here 6 years now. I'm kind of acclimated, I'd say, but it's just odd, not having 4 seasons and not having cold and not seeing the snow in the winter. So I totally get it. I'm coming from the opposite side that you're coming from, but yeah, it's definitely some, you gotta get used to it.
For sure.
So let's talk about you. So now you're a Fighting Illini. You're there. What's it really like in the Big Ten? Generally seen and regarded by most of the college football world as the second best conference to the SEC. What was it like being in the Big Ten? And tell me about your welcome to big time college football moment.
Well, Big Ten. I love the Big Ten. I think that there's a lot of good football in the Big Ten. I think there's a lot of great people that I've came across in the Big Ten. And, even though it's not as glorified as the SEC, you would say, it's still a great conference. I really enjoy, but football is different there. Football is different compared to the SEC, compared to other places. It's different. My welcome to the Big Ten had to definitely be my freshman year. And this wasn't even in a game yet. We're just doing like our summer 7-on-7, our 1-on-1s, things like that. Anyway, I get, like a reverse that we're running. No pass, nothing like that. We're just out there just, running around doing like drills and things like that. So we're doing 7-on-7, or maybe it was team period. Anyway, I knew I had a reverse. And I've been running reverses all the time, like Pop Warner, high school. And I know when I get the ball in a reverse, it's usually touchdown. Dude's not going to be able to run me. Like, it's good. Never forget, I got the reverse. I remember I was just hauling, running to the sideline, like, oh, I'm going to be out. And I'm going now against men, you know what I'm saying? Big Ten players that just no angles, no coaching, and just swallow me. I was like, oh, shoot, like these boys really out here moving in the Big Ten, like really, 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 really different. And then probably one of the greatest moments for me, I've had a lot of great moments though, but when we went to Michigan my freshman year, had my first touchdown in Michigan. And
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. And that probably was my real welcome to the Big Ten moment. I mean, that game, AJ Jenkins went down and he had a concussion. He ended up being a first-round draft pick. I remember I was on the sideline, and they always say, wait for your moment's gonna come, your moment's gonna come. And I was like, okay, well, I'm a study, so I always studied, and I knew football, and I knew just in case that if anything ever happened, I knew I'd be able to get in there and do what I had to do. Well, AJ came up to me with no helmet. He said, "Hey, man, I got a concussion, bro. You in?" And I was like, "What? Like, we in Michigan? This is big house. Hey, you in?" So we jump in. I scored a touchdown that game. We ended up losing that game, I think 67-65, and winning the triple overtime. The beginning of the second overtime, we started with the ball, and it was like a TV timeout. And I'll never forget standing on the field, and they played Lose Yourself from 8 Mile around that time. Like, I think 8 Mile had just came out, but they're playing 8 Mile, and we're in Ann Arbor. We're in Michigan. Everyone's standing up. Everyone's rocking like this. And I remember just looking around like, wow, like, yo, I'm really out here. Like,
right.
I just was in high school last year. Like, I'm really out here doing this thing. And that was like my moment of like, wow, like I made it in a sense, I made it. We went out there, we didn't win, but it was a great experience.
So I watched the highlight of you catching that first touchdown pass. And you lost that kid. Do you know who that was? Who was that DB?
I don't remember. I do remember that he was my age though. So every game, you study your opponent like you have to, right? So we had breakdown of who was playing where. From, what is their tendencies on first down? What are their tendencies on second? What are their tendencies after a turnover? What are their tendencies on everything? And what was happening was I knew the ages of people. I just like to know things, and it's important. And I remember when I went on the field, I said, yo, if I go doubles, like if I go to the left, they got the freshman out there. The freshman's the same age as me. So we out here playing high school football now in a bigger stadium. So that's mentally where I was at. So Nate called the play in. I remember I broke the huddle and I looked down out there. I said, "Oh, that's him. That's the freshman. I'm about to score. Like, we the same age." So we went out there and yeah, just made the play. Just made the play. I thought it was going to be a lot more cheering, but I forgot we were out of, we were away game, so nobody wasn't going to be happy when I scored. So yeah, it was exciting, man.
Really that's gotta be a heck of a memory. First college touchdown in the big house of all places.
Yeah, of all places.
I don't know that there's too many venues more hallowed than that. So speaking of hallowed venues, I guess, what would be some of the biggest name stadiums that you played in while you were in college?
So we played Penn State. Was awesome. I love playing at Penn State. I got a great picture. I need to see that. I need to show you that too.
Yeah. Did you guys have a whiteout there, or you played a regular daytime game?
It was a whiteout game. It was
wow.
Lost that game.
Wow.
By a field, maybe a point. Anyway, we kicked a game-winning field goal. We hit the goalpost. Lost. They called timeout right before the kick, and I'll never forget. We're standing on the side. I'll never forget looking down because we're going to kick in this end zone. And the student section was on that side. You could just see the students like running behind the goalposts because we're about to kick the field goal. Mm-hmm. They're throwing snow. They're like distracting, throwing snowballs on the field. It was crazy. We missed the kick, obviously. Not obviously, but we missed the kick. And we lost that game. But Penn State was awesome. Michigan State playing in East Lansing. Super, super intimidating place.
Wow. Okay.
Real intimidating place. It's built. It's the Coliseum, and it's built like the Coliseum. One way in, one way out.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Wall around. Now it might have changed a little bit, but that's literally what it was. So fans are right on top of you, but they're like a wall. Like we're really medieval times kind of thing. What else? Played in 2 baseball stadiums. Super unique. 2 bowl games. So we played Northwestern. And Northwestern is pretty close to where we're at. We played at Wrigley Field. They turned Wrigley Field into a football stadium.
Right.
So we played in Wrigley Field, and then we played in San Francisco in the Giant Stadium for a bowl game versus UCLA.
Okay.
And that was awesome too.
Okay. Awesome. So you've obviously you had the opportunity to have a really good college career. You played all 4 years, right?
Yeah. My senior year got cut short. I had an injury.
I was about to ask you if you ever had any major injuries.
I had an injury, and that really changed probably the trajectory of what was going to happen with me. And it was probably, looking back, in the moment, it was tough. Looking back, literally is one of the best things that, could have happened to me, as bad as that sounds.
Right.
But yeah, I got hurt my senior year versus Michigan State. I was projected day 2 guy, going to be, second round draft pick, going against number 1 DB, who I don't remember where he's at now. But going against the number 1 DB, and I was like, man, if I just make it through the game, score a touchdown, like I'm good. Like I can coast it for the rest of the year. Like my dream is done. And, got hurt, had a shoulder AC separation, and we had probably 7 games left before the bowl game. And they're like, hey, you can play, you can sit out for 6 and play in the bowl game, or you can get surgery now and be done. We know you want to play in the NFL. It might be good to get the surgery now and just call it and then be prepared for pro day and all that stuff. And it was a tough moment. And, I just prayed, talked to my mom, talked to my parents. It was like, look, what's long-term goal? My dad was like, what are you trying to do? And I said, well, I'm trying to play football. And he said, all right, well, you should probably go ahead and do the surgery. So it was tough, got the surgery and shut it down. So
you get the surgery, you go through rehab.
Right.
Pro
day. Yeah, pro day comes around.
Tell me about your pro day. Who was there? What type of scouts were there from?
A lot of people were there. A lot of people were there. It was typically we had a lot of scouts at our pro days. 32 teams. We were having 15, 20. We're having a good amount of people there. I ran a 4.3 that day.
I didn't know you were that fast. Like,
yeah. You
guys can't tell by looking at Ryan right here. He's a tall, slim guy, and you assume he's fast, but you didn't know it was 4.3. Like, I had no idea he was that fast. So I'm watching the highlights, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. That's what we did, Ryan.
That's my go-to there. That's my go-to. But yeah, it was slim guy. And with that, it was always tough. I was always slimmer weight wise. Numbers always like, oh man, I don't know about this kid. He's young, he's light, he's this. And my shoulder was injured. So me, I'm not the biggest, strongest guy. I kind of use that to my advantage. I didn't, to this day, never done the 225 test.
Really?
Never had to do it my pro day.
Wow.
I was just coming off my shoulder surgery. I said, but I could do everything else. I could catch balls. I was still kind of guiding, but I was doing it. I could catch balls, but I couldn't really lift because my shoulder was still kind of messed up, and they understood that. But I had to film them making plays. So I did my stuff. I ran my routes good, conditioned well. And then Indy came and they gave me another private workout, and they, basically ended up, taking me on draft day as a free. Well, they didn't actually. Dolphins took me first. Then I got traded. That must
have been a dream come true, even for the short time, getting taken by the Dolphins, team you grew up loving, team your dad played for. What was that like? Were they aware that I guess they would have been aware.
So they were not actually aware. So what happened was, I was supposed to be day 2. So I'm like, okay, man, maybe I'll get drafted 6th round, 7th round at least. So I remember I watched the draft. Day 1 I watched. I knew all these people were cheering for him. And I watched the whole draft all the way to the last person picked. They're picking guys out of East, whatever. I don't want to say any school is terrible, but I was just like, man, like I could have been picked up. Anyway, draft is over. I'm like, wow, I didn't get drafted. That's okay. Like, free agency gonna happen, but it still was like, man, like, dang, like if the phone doesn't ring, that's it. I got to find something to do. Then the phone started going crazy. Denver, Chargers, Miami call, Indy call, and it was just boom, 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 going back and forth between talking to my agent and doing this and doing a lot of different things, and I ended up going down to Miami. And I remember when I got off the phone, because I kind of broke away and went and spoke in my room. My parents were out there. We didn't really do like a big event thing. It was just me and my family hanging at the house kind of thing. And I remember getting off the phone. My dad came in. He said, "You all right?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "We're going to Miami." He was like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." Gave me a hug. I remember my mom came down. I was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Nothing. We're going back to Miami." She was like, "Oh my God."
Right.
That was super cool. And then business started literally then. And then you really see the NFL. So I was there. They flew me out. The next day, I was there for about 5 days. And then got released. GM called me in. It was like, hey, it's not the part that we, really like doing. And that was so early on that I'm thinking people are pulling me aside like, man, how's your dad doing? Like, I'm getting all that. So I didn't even know really what was going on at the time. GM called me up. They was like, hey, somebody else opened up for us, and this is part of the business. We got to kind of start cutting from the bottom. And because I was a free agent, they weren't really vested in me too much. He said, so can you just, put your information here? Boom, 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 boom. I'll never forget. They brought me up probably around like 11:30 something. 1 o'clock. I'm standing at my gate, airport, flying back to Champaign. That quick. Remember, get on the airplane like, wow, like I don't even know what just happened. I just got released out the door, just on your way. Called my agent worked some things out, and I went to Indianapolis, where I originally really wanted to go on a tryout. So I got there on a tryout, 3-day tryout. I got there on the second day with all the rookies, scored a touchdown, made some plays, and then made the team.
Okay. So you made the team. What year was that? 20?
So that was
14?
14. That seems so long ago. Yeah, right. 14, 15. Yeah, around that time.
Was 14. Reggie Wayne still there at that time? He would have been right towards the end, right?
Wayne was there. Great dude. I was there. Reggie Wayne was in there. T.Y. was in there. We drafted my boy Dante Moncrief. They drafted Dante Moncrief that year. They brought Josh Cribbs on that year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A lot of people. Andrew Luck was still playing.
Right. So what was it like being in that wide receiver room with those guys?
It was awesome. T.Y. The best part about it was that they were just exactly that, guys. Right? Like they were just like you and me. Like these people got families. These people got emotions. These people do this. It's just, that's Reggie Wayne. That's a Hall of Fame receiver.
Yeah.
That's Ty.
Mm.
That's little Ty that the dude from FIU was comparing me to. That's him. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he's a cool dude, you know. So it was great to just learn from those people. And then I learned a lot from other people as well, you know, like, you know, Ricky Jean, defensive line, and just a lot of different people, coaches, you know, David Thornton, who is, you know, the player development guy in Indy. Shout out to DT, man. DT is hell of a dude. But I just learned so much. And just had a great time. Had a really good time.
How long were you in Indy?
So I was in Indy about a year. So I was on the practice squad that first year, almost got activated towards the end of the season to return kicks.
Okay.
The deflate gate game, I would have been activated for that game. But things didn't work out, which was fine. You know, I embraced my role, right? So my role was literally I was a show card guy, but I'm show carding against the number ones. So I'm going against Vontae Davis, who went to the University of Illinois. I'm going against our number one defense, right? So this is the time where I'm getting better because I'm going against the ones. These are my games: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's my game day. Those are my Sundays because I wasn't playing like that. But it was awesome just to learn and really just enjoy being there, right? Because no one can take that from me. You know what I mean? I think in the moment I didn't really appreciate it. And it wasn't until after all the football has been said and done that I really appreciate what I did. But I had a great time there. Coaches were incredible. Players, you know, strength staff, I still keep in touch with some of them. Like, you know, it was a blast. Indy was awesome.
Okay. Cool. And did you have any other stops in the NFL?
So no. So after that, I got released from Indy, and then my agent was like, "Hey, you know, the team in Canada has your rights. Would you be interested?"
Okay.
Like, yeah, you know, I'm cool. I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. I was young. I was like, you know, I'll go up there, do my 2 years, and I'll come back to the NFL and light it up. And I went to Canada and stay for 5 and just refound my career and loved it more than NFL almost.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who did you play for in Canada?
So in Canada, first 2 years I was in Saskatchewan.
Okay.
Rough Riders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Second 2 years I went to their rival, so Winnipeg, Blue
Bombers.
I love Winnipeg. Yeah, Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who just won a Great Cup. Shout out to the Bombers.
Okay.
And then, went to Ottawa for a few weeks, got released from Ottawa, and then finished my career in Vancouver in BC.
Okay.
And it was beautiful. Beautiful time out there. Had a lot of fun. Refound myself, and was nominated All-Decade Returner. Didn't win it, but my name was in the nominations, so I was good. You know, I really achieved my dream there. You know, growing up, I always loved, you know, being a returner, kick returner, punt returner. I love Devin Hester. Devin Hester has been my favorite player in my entire life.
Right.
And my last year in the CFL and kind of the last 2 years, I was strictly a returner. So I was a receiver, but I had established myself well enough that, like, hey, you're just going to go in on punt return, kick return. You can just do all the returns. And that was like a dream come true for me, because it's like, look, I chill. Oh, time for me to go out there. All right, let me go out there, see, make something shake. If not, hey, hang out, coach my players up, make sure everybody's good. If they need a body to come in, because I knew the whole offense, I could be a plug and play guy. Boom. Oh, we need the Y's down. Go to Y. Oh, we need a W. W's down. Boom, 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 boom. So that's what my career was towards the end.
Okay. So we hear a lot of things about the difference between NFL and CFL football. Tell me a little bit about that. You know, besides, was it 3 downs in the CFL? Obviously, not nearly as much emphasis on the running game, very pass heavy. Tell me a little bit about the difference between the two leagues.
Yeah, well, I think the misconception is it is a pass heavy league. We are, but you know, we run the ball a lot. When I was in Winnipeg, I mean, we got Andrew Harris. He's a top running back in the league. If not, he's probably the best running back in the league. Shout out Andrew Harris too. We running the ball. We running the stretch. Boom, we giving it to him. We getting 10, 15. We run it again. We're breaking teams down. That's the type of team that we were in Winnipeg. But the game itself is fun. An extra player on the field, right? So there's 12 guys on the field instead of 11, right? Or like an extra halfback, right? Which would be like a DB hybrid kind of guy, linebacker hybrid kind of guy. But I love the game is much more exciting I would say, with the whole rules of the missed field goals, and there's not any touchbacks. There's no fair catches on punts because they got to give you space to catch the ball, because there's a rule if you're too close, that's a penalty. There's all type of things. So it's a much more exciting game, if you will. And I love the fact that we were in a different country, but still feeling like we were playing in the NFL, because Canadians are incredible. And I'm not sure you've been in Canada. Canadians are incredible. They got pride. They're just really good people. Okay. And the CFL is their NFL. So they're naming quarterbacks, Mike Riley, Bo Levi Mitchell, all these guys that, kids are striving to be the same way that kids in America are trying to be Tom Brady and trying to be, Brett Favre. Like they have that in Canada. And that was cool for me to see, to great fan bases all the way around, all across the province. It was awesome.
So for sure, just hearing you talk about football, you can just hear how much you love the game, how much you valued your experience, the opportunities you had to obviously play high school and then go on and play Division I college football, which very few, high schoolers get to play, percentage wise, and then obviously to go on and play professional football. So let's talk about a little bit, as much as you love that and you cherish those opportunities, where does it go when you get into the business side of it? Because a lot of people talk about the business of being a professional football player.
I think I lost you a little bit, but the business side of it, is that what you were saying?
Yeah. I was saying
with the business side.
Kind of, we can tell how much you love and appreciate your opportunities and you love the game, but a lot of people sorry about that. You hear me now?
Yep, I could have been me. Let me see if I think you were saying, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. I think you were saying the business side of it. Like, how do you maneuver through that?
Yeah.
It's hard. It's difficult. So let's see, the real time that I really first was like, all right, I got to deal with the business side was when I got hurt my senior year. I had agents contacting me all the time my senior year. And I was just like, not now. Let me make the plays, because then the business will take care of itself. But when I got hurt, I was like, all right, well, now it's time to secure an agent while the iron is still hot, while they're still interested in Ryan Lankford. Let me go ahead and lock somebody in. So I locked in an agent. But I really tried not to get into, I just call it the politics of the business, right? I would look into, making sure that I can get a contract that's giving me the most money that I can get and has goals that were attainable. And then I'm going to just play football and enjoy football and just trust that God is going to put me in situations that will have me part of my plan. You know what I mean? But the business side was important. And I definitely realized that towards the end of my career. I ended up not really firing. We didn't leave on bad terms, but I ended up getting rid of my agent my last 2 years, because it got to a point where I was like, okay, I've been doing this long enough. I've built enough connections. I can negotiate for myself better than anybody can speak for me. And that year, I got the contract where I made the most amount of money. I did my research. I looked at all the returners, how long they've been in the league, what they're making signing bonus wise. And I drew up, okay, based on stats wise, this is where I should be. And I asked for more than that, and I got it. And I was like, dang, like I could have been doing this the whole time. Like, I'm wasting time giving extra money away. But that was really where it came. And I really just tried not to focus on the business side, because if you focus too much on the business side, in my opinion, you're never able to really play, because you're always in your mind thinking that. And I always did a good job of trying to remember why I got into playing football is for the game. I loved it. I love to compete. I love the friendships. I love the relationships. It's a kid's game. Like, as much as it is paying the bills, like, don't try to make it too much more than what it is. It's a kid's game. It's a great opportunity. Enjoy this opportunity. Don't make it so business that when you're done, you forgot why you were doing it. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think about the game of football now, today, in terms of it's changed a lot, even in the few years that you've been away from it as a professional player? Things like everything they're trying to do, college and professionally, in the realm of player safety, in the way the game is played in terms of handcuffing the defense. I'm an old school guy. I'm in my 40s, so I can appreciate defense, but it seems like defense is almost illegal now.
Yeah.
What do you think about the changes that have taken place in the game and the state of it today?
So I think there's good and bad. All right. So it sometimes gets a little ticky tack where it's like, oh, he shouldn't have done this. He should have did this. He could have done this better. When you watch it in slow motion, oh, he could have done this. Well, no, he can't. Like, you got to understand, these are 6 to 10 second car crashes every play, back to back to back to back to back to back to back. And you have been taught and programmed that you got to protect yourself, and you got to make a play. You got to eat. You got to do what you got to do. So I think as far as player safety, I think the leagues and people are doing a good job, because technology and science is evolving. Like, we're able to test people and realize, like, okay, certain things are happening when this play is happening, or when these things are being done. If we can prevent these things and give players longevity after football, we need to start focusing on those things. So I'm all for the new player safety advantages. But at the same time, I feel like we still can't get away from what football is, if that makes sense.
Right. For instance, I look at it, you're a wide receiver. So you catch the ball and the defender's coming at you. So your natural tendency, if you can't escape him, is to lower yourself and to curl up to absorb that hit. Now, the defender, before you curled up, was at that perfect position to catch you right center mass, where they're supposed to by the rules, right? Make a perfect form tackle, wrap you up. But now you've lowered yourself, as you should, protect yourself. And because of that, now the defender can't change his strike point because of physics, and he hits you in the head, but he gets the call. Like, how do you reconcile something like that? I understand what they're trying to do, but that's a really tough spot to be in as a defensive player. What's your take on something like that?
It's hard. It's hard. And I think you just got to rely on your fundamentals, right? Now, if that ball is coming and that receiver is coming, and you're, as a DB, you're leading with your head, knowing you're not supposed to lead with your head, that's on you. You know what I mean? So there are things that can be preventative, but a lot of stuff is bang, 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 bang play. The crackback block where they're telling you ear hole, put your face mask in their actual ear hole. I was taught that. Can't do that anymore.
Right.
You can't do those things anymore. You can't run through somebody with a shoulder, but if you do this with your hands, you're good. So there's different things that it's just part of the rules that you got to kind of adjust to. But again, I'm all for the way player safety is going. And then again, I'm an offensive guy too, so I kind of side with that a little bit. So that's my take on it.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the big changes in terms of college football. NIL, that's one of the biggest ones. NIL and transfer portal. So we touched on it earlier when I asked you if anyone ever offered you money in college or to play. So we heard Texas A&M head coach Jimbo Fisher say it. He said, guys been getting paid in college. It's just legal now because of NIL. Where are you with that? Also with the transfer portal, and did those things, do they make you wish you were playing college football now to be able to take advantage?
I thought the other day, I was like, man, it'd be cool if we was getting paid. Like that's cool. But I think it was also cool that we weren't getting paid, because it kept us in that it wasn't so much of a business when I was in college. I feel like I think it was business mentality, but because we're only getting like our scholarship checks and things like that, which not a lot of money, but you can live off a scholarship check. I did it. I ain't have any extra stuff. I just had a scholarship check. I had bills and I had a budget. Like you had to be an adult with what you had, But I think it's so different now. I just really want people to understand that everyone's path is different. And if people choose to take a certain path, it's not the wrong path. They got to do what's best for them. With that being said, the transfer, I was a big on not transferring. We had some guys transfer out that were super talented, way talented, more talented than I was that transferred out thinking that it was going to work best for them or transfer for whatever reason. And I don't know if things planned out how they wanted it to plan out. So the transfer subject is a sticky subject for me just because I am never in a position to say what somebody else should do with their cards in their hand, you know?
Yeah.
And that's my stance on it.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing when I think about the transfer portal, and I've talked about this with a few different guys, some who played ball, some who didn't, but I look at it like if Coach Langford recruits me to Illinois and I go there to play for Coach Langford, and then Coach Langford says, yeah, guys, I'm sorry, I'm out. I'm going to coach Notre Dame. I got a better offer over here. Then why should I be locked in when that coach can just, get up and leave when he feels like it? I came to play for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why should I be locked in? So shouldn't I have the same and I'm with you. I'm not about jumping from school to school, but at the same time, realistically, shouldn't I have the same freedom of movement? That new coach coming in might not honor my spot. I might not fit in that coach's scheme. So there's a lot of things to think about where I think the transfer portal is not totally unreasonable. And I think you only get to use it once without being penalized. So there's at least a bit of control over it. A bit.
So I don't know all the rules when it comes to the transfer portal, but that is a great point. I mean, because we had Zook my first 2 years.
Okay.
Boom. Zook got fired after, for whatever reasons they got rid of Zook. We had a new coach come in. Tim Beckman came in. Okay. Right. So we got somebody that's been running in the Big Ten, and then we got somebody coming from the MAC making a transition, recruiting his MAC players, moving however he chooses to move. There were definitely situations with players that were on our roster that were players under Zook that when Beckman came in didn't fit the mold that Beckman had. And, these players had to transfer. And like you said, transfer portal was different. Then they had to sit. They had to, there was different things that happened. Had we had that transfer portal now or then, who knows what had happened? One of the kids who actually did have to transfer, he ended up going somewhere else and did have a career in the NFL, which was great for him. But I think I agree with you on that statement of if I'm going to go for Coach Bruce and then Coach Bruce going to slide, I should be able to slide too.
Okay. All right. So, obviously, we gotta touch on this one. Monday night is the national championship game, Alabama, Georgia. What do you think of the current college football playoff setup, and are you for expansion?
I would just like to see the best teams play. And I don't even know. There's so many colleges out there. There's so many ways to determine who can play for who can be considered the best team in college football. I'm here for how they do it now. I think it's effective, but I'm also would like to see change at some point. I think I'm all about changing and just, changing stuff up and let's try to add value, or let's try this, let's try that. And then as far as the game, I like Bama.
Yeah, I think
I like Bama
as well.
My girl, she went to the University of Alabama.
Okay.
And what's cool, which I've told her before. So I, at times, was always I'm tired of seeing Bama. I'm tired of seeing Bama. I'm tired of seeing Bama. I've watched the most Alabama football in the last year and a half, with her. And Alabama's great.
Yeah.
Now that I can watch football as a fan and not like a player, and I actually can watch how they play, why they pick the play they do, like schemes, mentality, how, body language, things like that. They're the best for a reason. They do what they need to do. They carry their own, they hold their weight, and, they're going to be good for a while, for a while.
Yeah. I'm definitely for playoff expansion. I'm thinking 8 teams, maybe 12 max, but I'm for playoff expansion with some guidelines. Like, I don't want to see a 12-team playoff with 4 SEC teams in it or 6. Like, the SEC bias, a lot of people down here don't want to admit it. It's a real thing in the college football media and the college football world. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see 3 or 4 SEC teams in an 8-team playoff. So, I'm saying if it's 8 teams and you have the 5 Power 5 champions, you have a group of 5 champion, and what's that? That's 6, and then 2 at larges. Not difficult to figure out.
Not at all.
And put a cap on how many teams from one conference. Pretty simple. Because let's be real here, the real reason for expansion is not to find the best team or any of that. It's because money, advertising, and television dollars. And that's fine. But guess what? The rest of the country likes college football too. So you would generate even more money if other teams from other parts of the country would get in. Whether they win or not, okay, I get it. You know, what do they say down here? It just means more. And that it would probably continue to be Bama, right? And that's fine because, you know, they've earned that. But, you know, let's not make it an SEC invitational. But let me get off my SEC soapbox because anyone who's watched this show knows my feelings on that. But okay, before I let you get out of here, Ryan, we're gonna play a little bit of hurry up offense. Okay, I'm gonna ask you some questions and you give me some quick answers. Got it?
All right.
Are you ready?
Yep, let's do it.
Okay, your time, college or pro? Who hit you the hardest?
College. Yeah, I got hit pretty bad in college. Michigan State always had a great defense, and I was always getting smacked out there. Freshman year, I was 155 pounds playing receiver, maybe 160, but like getting smacked. But playing, getting back up, doing it again, you know.
There you go. Okay. What is the craziest or loudest road venue you've ever played in college and in the pros?
Craziest. Fresno State was crazy. Not because they were loud, but because their stadium was like down this hill. So we had to walk down, like it's almost like this incline, and it was just concrete, like street. If you got cleats on, if you're not paying attention, you take a step, you're going down, you're slipping, right? And also from the stadium, from the locker room to where the field was, it was probably like a 5-minute walk. Anyway, the fans can come around where you're walking through. They're fenced out, and it was just reckless, like yelling all type of stuff at you. I'm like, yo, this is hostile out here. You know what I'm saying? This is crazy. Professionally, I mean, I did a majority of my time in Canada. Saskatchewan is probably the craziest atmosphere. Winnipeg is pretty crazy too. But Saskatchewan fans, they sell out every week, every single week. They're sell out, they're loud. And it's, you know, those are some wild times. College was, I mean, it all was crazy. The more that I think about it, like it all was crazy.
All right, so let me branch off that real quick. One of my bucket list items, I want to go to Camp Randall for the jump around. How crazy is that when that happens at the beginning of the fourth quarter at Wisconsin?
Yeah, so that's really cool too. That's really cool too. And it's hard to not want to join in because you're like, we're the away team, but it's a TV timeout and you hear you're like, oh shoot, everybody gets up, you see the phones start coming out. It's awesome.
Okay.
It's awesome. Yeah.
All right. If you could play against any defensive back ever, who would it be?
Ever. I would love to go against Dion. Mm-hmm. I would love to play against Dion and just listen to him talk and, play and be an athlete. I would love to just, that'd be a fun game because just the mental game on top of the athletic ability.
Okay. All right. Who's the best wide receiver ever?
Ooh, wide receiver ever.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I think Randy Moss.
Okay.
I love Randy Moss. Jerry Rice is up there too.
Okay.
But I think Randy, because Randy is a verb. You moss somebody, and I don't think Moss is going to change. Like that's gone through generations. People who don't even know who Randy Moss is say you got Moss. You know what I mean? So I think that holds some weight.
Okay. Who did you model your game after, and who do you think you most play like?
So I try to model my game after receivers that were like my similar build. So T.Y. Hilton, John Brown, who was in Arizona at the time. I like Steve Smith. I like it was a lot of people. And then I love Devin Hester. So I like Devin Hester as a returner, which he really was. But I really try to, resemble my returns off of him, because really that's really who at heart I love to be. I play a receiver because you got to play in a position. You can't just come in and say, oh, I'm a kick returner. You got to do something and special team. You can't just lead with special teams unless you're going to kick, which I did some of that too. But definitely, those would be my guys.
Okay. Who's your favorite teammate?
Favorite teammate? Ooh, wow. That's tough. I've had some great teammates. I've had some great teammates. That's a great question. It would probably be some of my guys in Winnipeg. Stanley Bryant, Darvin, a lot of different people. And I think that just stems from the head coach and the recruiting, just the type of people that they recruit, or the type of people that they bring in. So those would be my favorites. Whole Winnipeg team.
All right. Who's your favorite coach that you've ever played for?
Love Zook. Really love Zook. Winnipeg again. Michael Shea, great players coach. Did it all before, leader. And I mean, they won the Grey Cup again, back to back, after a pandemic. So they're awesome.
What's your favorite pregame meal?
Ooh, pregame meal has to be, I used to go to Subway a lot. Subway. So they would provide us with pregame meal that I would just kind of eat and nibble, but I'd have to go get a Subway Italian sub and a Gatorade. And I probably didn't need it, but psychologically, you got to do the same. I was that type of guy. I did the same thing every time, got to the stadium at the same thing, did my same walkthrough, visualization, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. What was your most satisfying win?
Probably a high school win.
Really?
A high school win. Yeah, we came back against our rival, Stanton.
Okay.
And Stanton, what's funny is they call that the Brain Bowl, because it's the smartest academic schools in the area. So us and Stanton, and we drove the ball down like last minute, like 80 yards, scored a winning touchdown in the corner of the end zone as clock expired. We were home. Fans about to run on the field. I got a paper cut in the paper, picture in the paper. That was real satisfying. That was satisfying.
And finally, why number 12?
Why number 12? Great. That's funny. So I actually came in, I was number 20. And I was like, man, these boys trying to make me a DB. I can't be no DB, man. I'm a receiver. So I went up, asked Zook. I said, hey, Zook, man, is there any way that I could change my number? At the time, Terry Hawthorne, who was number 12, was going to move to number 1. He was like, hey, bro, get 12. So I go up there, and Zook was like, yeah, are you really worried about a number? And I was like, no, not really. Like, I just, 20 is just, okay, you want 12? I'll give you 12. You got to make 12. And I was like, okay, I can do that. I'll make 12. So he gave me 12, and then the rest was history.
All right. Well, there you have it. Ryan, man, I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time to talk to us about your experiences and telling us about college football, pro ball. We really appreciate that, man. It's awesome.
Appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah, definitely learned a lot about you today. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. A lot more. We can do it again too.
Yeah, we definitely can do it again, man. I appreciate it. All right, man. Well, you have a good one.
All right, brother. Appreciate you.
All right, cool.
Yeah.